named four of his sons Europe, Asia, Africa, and America. The fact that one of them was called Africa gave rise to the statement that he was an African. End footnote. It is an interesting question to know how far at this period the Secretary of War himself was loyal. Mr. Dawson, the able editor of the Historical Magazine, is of opinion, after a careful investigation of the facts, that Floyd at this time was true to the Union, and that he remained so until December 24th, when it was discovered that he had been advancing large sums of money from the Treasury to contractors to pay for work which had never been commenced. To make the loss good, nearly $1 million was taken from the Indian Trust Fund. Finding he would be dismissed from the cabinet for his complicity in these transactions, and would also be indicted by the grand jury of the District of Columbia, he made a furious secession speech, sent in his resignation, and suddenly left for the South. Footnote. He afterward returned, gave bail, and appeared before the court, because he was aware that a rule existed that parties who had given evidence before a congressional committee in reference to any defalcation could not be tried for having taken part in it. End footnote. Mr. Dawson founds his opinion in this case upon the statement of Fitz-John Porter, who was a major on duty in the War Department at the time, and therefore apparently well qualified to judge. Floyd's actions toward us, however, were not that of a true man, and I am of opinion that his loyalty was merely assumed for the occasion. He sent 17,000 muskets to South Carolina when he knew that Charleston was a hotbed of sedition, and that in all probability the arms would be used against the United States. Greeley says, in his American Conflict, that during these turbulent times Floyd disarmed the government by forwarding 115,000 muskets in all to the Southern Confederacy. Footnote. It is true that there is a law authorizing the distribution of surplus United States arms to the states, but there were no surplus muskets on hand, and even if there had been, it was a very injudicious time to distribute them among the insurgent states. A little delay would have been both patriotic and judicious. End footnote. In addition to this, he sold large quantities of arms to S.B. Lamar of Savannah and other secessionists in the South, on the plea that the muskets thus disposed of did not conform to the latest Army model. Just before his resignation, he continued the same policy by directing that 124 heavy guns should be shipped from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to Ship Island, Mississippi, where there was no garrison, and to Galveston, Texas. Yet this was the official upon whom we were to rely for advice and protection. This was the wolf who was to guard the fold. Our commander, Colonel Gardner, had done good service in the War of 1812 and in Mexico, but now, owing to his advanced age, was ill-fitted to weather the storm that was about to burst upon us. In politics he was quite Southern, frequently asserting that the South had been treated outrageously in the question of the territories, and defrauded of her just rights in other respects. He acquiesced, however, in the necessity of defending the fort should it be attacked, but as he lived with his family outside of the walls, he could not take a very active part himself. Indeed, on one occasion, when a secession meeting was held in our immediate vicinity, accompanied with many threats and noisy demonstrations, he sent word to me to assume command at once in his place. He now found himself in a peculiar position. The populace was becoming excited, and there was every probability that a collision, accidental or otherwise, might occur at any moment between the troops and the mob outside, if not between the troops and the state militia. The dilemma which confronted him was either to make a disgraceful surrender of his command, or take the other alternative and fight South Carolina single-handed, without the aid or cooperation of the general government. He thought the difficulty might perhaps be solved by removing the garrison to Smithville, North Carolina, having received permission to do so, in case the yellow fever, which had proved so disastrous the previous year,